Hey Audrey, can you hear me?
I can.
You can?
I can hear you. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good. Somebody said, so we did an event yesterday and somebody said, oh, are you cold? I'm like, no, my hair is a catastrophe. I'm wearing my hat just to try and keep things slightly sane.
Sorry, phone call came in there.
So before we start, I just want to do a bit of our housekeeping issues, let people know what's going on. This is our weekly series for MmX, the Midwest Music Expo, which started as a music industry conference on the grounds of Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois, where I teach. I'm the music industry coordinator there. In 2019, we had a great first event there. A few hundred people from Chicago, Nashville, and of course the Decatur area. And we were set to have quite the event in May of this year. And of course, we weren't able to do that. So we switched to a weekly event. And then we did an all-day event that was virtual with Wendy Day, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. Who else? Lol Tolhurst, the drummer from The Cure. Wendy Day, who did the largest hip hop deal in, I think. Fantastic. We had ASL signing. Galen Lee was with us. We tripled attendance and we had people from 23 countries. So it was kind of a lesson in don't despair, find another way, make it happen. It's going to do something horrible. Am I back?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was me or what happened.
We have Wi-Fi boosters. We're switching all kinds of stuff. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. So today we have Audrey Martinovich with us. What's the name of your company, Audrey?
Audio for the Arts.
Audio for the Arts
Studio. Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to be talking to Audrey in a minute. I want to remind everyone of all the other events that are happening. Same day next week, but a little bit later, we're going to be talking with Shannon and Jamie Curtis. They're based in Los Angeles, hence we're going to be a few hours later next week. And Shannon literally wrote the book. It was an Amazon #1 music business bestseller about house concerts. And I called her up a couple of weeks ago to ask her to find out what she's doing. They have a studio in California. She writes custom songs for people, and they pioneered this house concert circuit maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I expected to hear doom and gloom. Instead, she's like, it's crazy, can't talk now. We're on virtual tour. And they booked a virtual tour going from their studio into other people's homes and are making a very successful run of it. Of course, I asked, you need souvenir tour passes and t-shirts. But she wrote the book about that stuff. It's called No Bouncer, No Booker, How I Made, No Bartender. How I Made, first it was called How I Made $28,000 on the house club circuit. Now it's called How I Made $78,000 last year doing this stuff. So that's going to be great. For anybody who's interested, I have one of my Public Image Limited Memories events at noon on Saturday. This week I'm looking at the period in 83, 84, where we moved from New York and London out to Los Angeles. And discovered that success isn't what you think it might be. Okay, that's that. And thanks again to Millikan University and all of our students and interns who help us, and Molly over here who's helping make all of this stuff happen. Audrey, welcome to MmX Weekly.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So I should tell everyone that Kevin Garneri, who runs the commercial music department down at Millikan University, with a brand new Neve something or other console.
Yup.
You know what it is? I don't know the numbers.
Oh, I don't remember exactly now what it is. No.
I know what it is. It's a Neve. Screw you. We've got a console. You were one of Kevin's students at Madison Media Institute, and you're one of my students up there. So could you describe what it is that you're doing now? I mean, I want to go all the way back and all the way forwards, but can you tell everybody what you're doing now, what your business looks like, and where you're speaking to us from?
Yeah, so I am speaking to you from my office / our Studio B. I have a Control 24 control surface behind me, and then Pro Tools Ultimate in here. So we've had to do some like creative patching to make that work. And so this is, my office where I share with Buzz Kemper. He is the co-owner of the studio. And right now what we are doing is probably really different than if you'd asked me that like in any other year. So basically 40% of our business or so is in live events, and usually in the spring, that is like orchestra and choir concert season. Usually May and June, we have every weekend where we're recording orchestras and choirs and small ensembles and things like that. Our studio specializes primarily in acoustic music, so we do a lot of classical and jazz, and have a close relationship with the university here because all of their students need to do recordings in order to earn their doctorate degrees. Okay. So usually we'd be like elbow deep in all of that stuff. But since COVID, all of the concerts between basically March and January of next year are canceled or postponed indefinitely, just kind of pending the situation. So we've gotten creative this past few months. So we've been doing a lot of composite videos right now. So I just had our Wisconsin Youth Symphony Orchestra. They have usually it's like a 80-piece orchestra, and whoever could record themselves at home did and sent it to us to assemble. So that is a big project I just finished working on, where I assembled 68 videos of home recordings and then had to denoise them all and then line everything up with different frame rates and everything, and then make it all sound like they were in a hall together. For a final video project. So a lot of that kind of thing going on now.
So one of the things that I don't mean this to sound the wrong way. One of the things I like about what's happening now, that just doesn't sound right. But one of the things of value that I would take away from this difficult period, let's say it that way, is that creative people need to pivot and come up with creative solutions. And so here you are, your company's called Audio in the Arts.
For the arts, yeah.
Audio for the Arts. And now you're talking about, you're assembling video, right? Right?
Yeah.
So, so were you primarily doing like location recordings, or people were coming into your studio to record acoustically?
So both, and I think that this has been a good lesson in like creativity, but also just diversifying your skills and income streams. Like if we only did live events, we wouldn't have any work until, for a year. That's a whole calendar year being wiped out for, exclusively live sound industries. So support the Restart Act for Congress. That's aimed to help that sector. But for us, about half of our revenue was live events where we would mostly just record. We would do some sound reinforcement, and recently got into doing live streaming. So we started a little mini concert series from the studio that we live streamed, kind of just to get our bearings and introduce ourselves to video a little bit, and figure out bandwidth capacities and all this. And that started evolving into live streaming for live events. And now that live events are out, we've put together these videos that we then can also still live stream. We just queue it up, and it's actually less personnel for that kind of thing. So it is like a bit of a, you grab from here, grab from there, kind of wherever you can get things. But yeah, right now I guess we would have a lot of like people in studio to do albums and things like that, and mostly classical and acoustic stuff. But I'm also working on 2 horror movies right now, so sound design, which is perfect for quarantine. You just lock yourself in a room with Isotope RX and denoise dialogue and put it together.
So are you doing any music, or you're just cleaning things up?
For the movies, I am not doing music for these ones. I did just finish a role where I was a music supervisor for a film. And that was really fun, because I just got to kind of pick out from local talent who I liked, and who I thought fit this image. They wanted someone very like Eddie Vedder kind of feel, so I went with the local guy named Sam Ness here, who's just really, really awesome singer-songwriter type.
Okay, so
Yeah.
and the facility that you have,
Yeah.
you know what I didn't ask you? Where are you? Where are you based? I don't even know where you.
Oh, yeah, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, right downtown. So I'm maybe 3 blocks east of the Capitol.
Oh, I really like that area. I really like
Yeah.
time in Madison a lot. It's kind of a really progressive city, but it's
Mhm.
tiny. What are there, like 150,000 people there?
I think we might be up to 200 now.
Okay,
Yay.
but the square that gets blocked off with concerts in the well,
Hmm.
concerts in they block off that street and have the stage at the end. Madison Ruby, Madison UX, really great world-class conferences. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, wow. Um, so you're working. Are you living in the building that the studio is in?
No, I actually live in a very, very, very small town of about 800 people, about 45 minutes away, called Blanchardville.
Okay.
And yeah, this is where my husband and I came across a church that was for sale. And so we bought that a year ago, and have spent this year renovating it, and putting in bedrooms and a functioning kitchen and all sorts of stuff, and a little recording space as well.
Okay, because any time I'm in a church, I'm always,
Yeah,
let's set the
I
drums up. Here we go.
Yeah, I did. So right when we first bought the church, before we did any construction, I did an impulse response recording. So I set up a PA system and some recording equipment, and played a sine sweep. So from I think I did from 20 hertz to 32, even though my PA couldn't accurately reproduce that, but you do what you can. And recorded that. And when I import that file into Wave's impulse response reverb plugin, then I can put the reverb of the church before any construction on whatever project I want. So
Well,
I kind of preserved the sound of that. So I'm going to do another one after we're done with construction, and just compare. It's been really interesting.
wow. So I was I was nodding like, oh yeah, an impulse
Yeah.
record, like I had a clue what that was. But as you explained it, wow. So on the one hand, we're in a time where um, you don't have to set up drums in a church, right?
Hmm.
However, I'm still of the mindset that yeah, you could do anything anywhere on a laptop, whatever. But I'm still of a mindset to me, a studio is an escape. It's not
Hmm.
reality, although in a scientific way it needs to be reality. Um, and it's vibe, you know.
Hmm.
So to me, I get excited about playing drums in the church. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
excited about sitting in a carpeted room with somebody saying it's going to sound like it's in a church.
Right.
You know, it's a mindset thing for me. I probably play different beats
Oh, absolutely.
hearing it.
Right. And I think that that is an argument too for like people who multi-track versus playing live in the same room. Because in classical music, everybody is in the same room. I mean, in bluegrass, everyone's on the same microphone. So they have to like balance themselves and really listen. And it does result in different playing at the end of the day.
Right. So you are obviously so knowledgeable about all of this stuff. Um, could you take us through um, your path? Like, where did this start? Did
Yeah.
were you interested in studios at the beginning, or music, or what? Where did all this start? And tell us about your journey.
Sure. So my background is in vocal performance, and classical vocal. So I used to take opera lessons, and when I would do that, I would record myself, and it's meant to like help you figure out what your technique is and get an audience perspective on your performance. But as soon as I started doing that, that was kind of all right, how do I make this recording sound not like it was done with a microphone way in the top corner of the room, as is the case with churches and stuff. Sometimes they've just got one little lavalier mic dangling from the ceiling 8 feet above the choir area. And so as soon as I started doing that, I developed this interest. So I thought that I would end up actually teaching choir initially. So I've always really loved um, education and like passing on knowledge and things like that. So when I started digging into recording, and I found Madison Media Institute, where of course I met you and Kevin, I decided that I had to enroll. And at the time, I had not used a Mac computer, not used any kind of recording software other than like sound recorder app on your Windows, whatever it comes with. And from there, I was pretty much just hooked. I mean, I was there until they had to kick me out at the end of the night, and I try to get there to my classes, first thing, sit right up front. Just part of that too is because I didn't have any of the equipment at home. So there's not, I mean, anyone who sat down and tried to read a Pro Tools book without the software in front of you, it's like so terribly dry. And so I would just practice and give myself little projects, and obviously like do my homework assignments and everything too. Um, Yes, Book of Nightmares. And yeah, so I at the time I worked retail during the day, so I had a full-time job and would come and go to school at night and be in the building until back in those days they closed at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then go home and go to work and do the same thing every day I could. And through school, I had a pretty small class since I went at night, but I was always the only girl in all of my classes. So that kind of gave me this attitude like I have to, know things more and study more and be better at Pro Tools and all this stuff. So that really kind of fed into this ambition I have. And when I think in my second semester, I started interning and doing some live sound gigs just for, helping out as a stagehand during festivals and things like that. Not anything really big, not like Warped Tour or anything like that, but little neighborhood festivals. And that was an introduction into how to troubleshoot really quickly on the fly. If you have an audience there, you have limited time to figure out why things aren't working. So I started doing that, and eventually stumbled on an internship opportunity here at the studio I now co-own. So I met with Buzz, the owner at the time, and Steve, who now works at Wisconsin Public Radio. And they were really an introduction into classical music, like the techniques and behind recording it and how to record it in such a way that you can edit it later, because there's no click tracks. There's, you know, bleed is 100% there. And so just the techniques involved with that. And I guess, yeah, through school too, I met a lot of video people, and they've always been looking for sound design people, and I've always just been like, oh yeah, I'm over here. And that's led to, I have 3 feature films I'm working on this year. And I think 2 of them at least are going to have distribution on Prime and everything. So it's kind of, I don't know, just one step, every opportunity in front of you, I just take. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure if some of my students are online, when you said, you know, you got your job at your current studio by interning, that I'm sure they're all like, oh, we're going to hear about this, because we've implemented a 3 internship requirement, Milliken, because it's like, that's how jobs happen. So if that's how jobs happen, why we're not just going to require 1 internship, we want 3, so you can get a bad one, you know.
You learn a lot about working with people then too.
Right. It's real, you know. We talked with Emily White, she's from Milwaukee, I think, originally. She
Nice.
managed Amanda Palmer and wrote a book about interning, and in listening to her, she got the internship of her dreams. And actually, one of my students in Chicago, this happened to as well. The internship of their dreams. And within a day, she's like, oh, this is horrible. You know, nothing wrong with the internship or the opportunity or the people. Just she hadn't done these functions for a label before. And it was just like, well, this is not it. And the internship that she reluctantly accepted because she had to on her path turned out to foster relationships that she still has to this day. So it's like, when you the more you know about internships, like, look, we should really require 5, but I think my students' heads would just explode. Yeah. So so you have an associate's degree from Madison?
Yeah, and a bachelor's, because I did the entertainment media business program too.
All right.
Yeah, I listened to my dad. He was not super happy when I was like, oh, I'm going to do music professionally and make money and stuff. And he was not very sure about it. So I went and got a business degree that was like slightly, you know, a business degree.
And, you know, I think even after 5 years with Johnny Rotten, my dad would say to me, and hit singles and Japan, Australia, my dad would always pull me aside and go, is it time now, Martin, that you really, you know,
Got a job.
Yeah. Come on. I mean, yeah, all the way, God bless him, all the way to the end. So
he's changed his tune now. I'll give him credit. Now that like he's, I've got some street cred with him, so it's good.
Well, I think one of the reasons I love teaching music business is not because everybody should go into music business, but if you're in music business, you have to be a seat of your pants, fly by night, or maybe not fly by night, that sounds seat of your pants, bootstrap problem solver, you know, creative thinker, because if you're not, over very quickly. And I think you can take that skill set into any other field and absolutely kill it, you know. So when did you graduate from Madison? That school isn't around anymore, is it? Unfortunately.
No, it's not. I graduated right at the beginning of 2014 from the bachelor's program.
Okay.
Oh wow, yeah, and it's already 2020. That's crazy. And it it was probably 6 months after that I started the internship here, which was mostly just helping set up PA stuff because the owners did not like doing the heavy lifting or I can't blame them. I don't do it now either. I have someone else do it for me.
So how long, did you have any internships before that one?
Just kind of like ran little gig things. So not any formal kind of, you show up here at this time kind of thing. Mostly just like, oh, there's this festival here, or the library is putting on a thing and, they need someone to run sound for the one handheld wireless microphone and that kind of stuff.
So, do you have any advice for anybody making an internship, turning an internship into a job, or succeeding at an internship?
Yeah. I think, so I'm happy to teach someone the technical things, like what they don't know. In most live sound or studio environments, the engineer is going to have a particular way that they do things, and they do for a reason. Like me, for example, I always plug my microphones in the same way. I can pretty much just like patch everything with my eyes closed, and like it's always, the accuracy will vary a little bit, but you get what I mean. And I'm happy to teach that kind of stuff to somebody, but I can't teach someone to like be on time or to be engaged and active in what's going on, or to ask questions, or read their emails thoroughly. That drives me crazy. If I send someone a schedule and they ask a question that I answered in the email, like being detailed oriented, all of those soft skills are the things for sure.
I think we might, if it's okay, I might impose on you for to contribute to we actually started an internship theory class, which is a requirement before students go out to get internships, to try and make sure that the internships are more successful, and not have a situation where after 10 weeks, people are like, well, if I only knew then what I know now, this would be good, and anybody with, I think I think when one person says something, it's like, yeah, but when 10 people say,
do this, yeah.
So how long, and you, at any point you can say, but how long did it take you to turn your skills into a paying position? And so you said that when you were at school, you had a day job. Did you have a day job or whatever, a straight gig when you were interning at the studio? Could you tell me about?
Yeah, that kind of switch. That's I like to reflect on that, so that's fun. So I did continue to work my retail job for a while I was just kind of doing one-off internship things. So I started just kind of accompanying them on live sound recordings or PA stuff, and after once or twice of them seeing that I know how to set up a PA and wire the power amplifiers correctly so that we don't cause an explosion or anything like that, they were like, okay, so she's adding value here, let's pay her for going on these gigs with us. So that's kind of how it started. Was I'd have those gigs from them paid, but then I would come in and do like they had a sound effects library that all of the files were named audio 1, audio 2, audio 3. So I had the pleasure of going through each of these and listening to these sound effects and trying to name them appropriately. So, not just explosion, but like medium explosion with glass and metal debris and, fire or whatever, just being specific with it. So that kind of like stuff I would just do as part of the internship. And then eventually the person who was doing the office management stuff and the marketing, she ended up wanting to go to another job. So I kind of started to step in and fill that role. They asked me if I'd had any marketing experience or finance experience and that kind of stuff. And thanks to my bachelor degree in business, I did. So I would do, some of the accounting and scheduling and that sort of stuff. And then that also led to just engineering more and more. And it was at that point then when I became the office manager that I quit my full-time retail job and started here full-time. So I'd engineer maybe like 15 hours a week or so at that point. And then the rest of that was office stuff.
Wow. So, but what is really great, and this is great, Audrey, is that you obviously have a goal of working, immersing yourself in this stuff, but you haven't been afraid to be like, okay, yeah, I'll do the books and some marketing and some office. I'll sit and organize. I want to record classical or trap beats or whatever it is.
Right.
But you're like, here you are, medium explosion with glass. Like, we used to call it paying your dues, right? But you haven't been afraid to. You have to be in the building. Right? You've been
100%.
and created this opportunity. It sounds to me like for yourself, and also having 2 or 3, side hustle, day job, whatever it takes kind of person. That's great for when you do get busy in the studio with the things you want to do. Those can be 18-hour days anyway. If you're working with on a deadline or in the middle of some kind of flow, you don't want to stop and go, sorry, we're 12 hours in.
Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I gotta go. No. Yeah. And that's kind of what it was like pre-COVID was 6 days a week, 14-hour days, or 10 to 14-hour days. So, a lot. But I think that there's value in realizing that your skills come from all these different areas. So like working in retail, I understand like what a customer is saying might not necessarily be what they mean, and you have to have that kind of interpersonal relationship. It's also that also made me really patient. So if I'm doing, or if I'm working with an artist who needs to do 30 takes of the same 4-measure passage, I'll sit there and be like, all right, cool, take 31. All right, take 32, and just with a smile the whole time. Exactly. Just realizing that all of these things inform where you end up. I even was a photographer for a while for Suicide Girls, and that gave me photoshopping and editing skills, which I brought to this marketing position, which as a studio owner, you are an entrepreneur. There's no difference. And so I still use that stuff every day.
Did I tell you my George Massenburg quote?
I don't know.
Okay. Lots of people I talk to don't know who George Massenburg is, but of course he invented the GML equalizer and produced everybody. One of the first events I went to, maybe 16 or 17 years ago, where people talked at conferences, students at Belmont University in Nashville said to him, George, how can we be better in the studio? And of course, what the students wanted to hear was, live in the studio and sleep on top of an SSL console. And what he said, I stood up and applauded. I was the only person who applauded. He said, work in a pizza parlor on a Saturday. And the students were very upset. And he said, you deal with idiots, drunken idiots. You get that customer service component that actually Mark Cuban on Shark Tank, he's looking for that all the time. Customer service, So it's great to have all of these building blocks that have created this place that you're at now.
Yeah, thank you.
So could you talk a little bit more about being the only woman in class? And I got into some I got some pushback when I wrote Tour Smart 12 years ago. I don't know when, that was a long time ago, because there's a chapter in there, and I'd even forget the name of it. It's like women on the road, or like girls. I don't know what the people were like. Well, this is ridiculous that you even wrote that 12. And I'm like, well, you can say it's ridiculous, but it was kind of necessary, and it feels like it kind of still is.
Yeah.
So how did that help you? Did it kind of punch you in the face at times? And how? It seems like it made you stronger, but
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think that it has kind of fed that that need to exceed a lot and to also rhyme. And I mean, I've experienced like some stuff. Most of it is just kind of like, if you walk into a hospital room and you see a man in a lab coat and a woman in a lab coat, people might assume that the man is the doctor and the woman is the nurse. It's kind of the same thing. If someone who doesn't know the studio walks in and sees me and Buzz, they'll assume that, you know, Buzz is the engineer and I might be like the receptionist or intern or something, which, you know, I take with a grain of salt. It is the culture, and it's changing. But women are only like 5% of engineers and music producers. So there are some like initiatives to like kind of help change that. But I mean, I haven't really experienced anything like super terrible. I haven't been, you know, turned away for a job or anything like that because I'm a woman, or at least that I know about. And if I have, then I don't need that job anyway because I'm doing pretty great by myself. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been interesting, but I think it has like fed my need to continue and to do things better.
are there any organizations that you're involved with that help? I know Women in Music Chicago is something that
Oh, I
we
don't know.
we tag.
Mm.
Jesse LaBelle, music,
Yeah,
music.
there's
Anything
um
in Madison? Girls Rock. Is that?
Girls Rock Camp. I'm a camp instructor for that this year. So that this year has gone virtual, but that is a summer camp dedicated to getting instruments in girls' hands. And then I teach a tech track with that. So I teach them how to set up a PA and how to, you know, do some home recording. And it's all about just empowering girls to do this kind of stuff. Just because, like, you know, if you see someone who looks like you doing the thing, it's easier for you to then also do the thing. So it's just introducing that. But there's also soundgirls.org.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was founded by Carrie Keyes, who is best known for being the monitor engineer for Pearl Jam for like ever. And so she and a co-founder whose name I don't remember. I think it's Michelle, but I can't remember her last name. They have that. And there's also Women's Audio Mission, which is out of San Francisco. And they have a studio facility where they actually train people as well. But then they have all this like educational outreach and chapters all over too. So those are the ones I'm a member of. I'm sure there's more. There's Female Music Producers of the World. That's a Facebook-based group where women. I should say that women is inclusive. So this is all like, you know, non-binary and trans inclusive organizations, just to make sure we mention that. But you can go and meet up with other people to collaborate with and share music with. It's really cool.
Wow. So I know enough to know that I can't talk to a studio person without looking at some questions, because someone's going to have some ridiculous microphone question. But just before we start
Yeah.
questions, so are you using tape? I think you said you're on Pro Tools. Are you familiar with Logic? What are people using these days? What's the norm for you, if there is such a thing, in terms of the technology that you're using?
Yeah, so we actually do a lot of transfers from analog media to digital format. So we have a tape machine. We don't track with it, but we do have it for that purpose. We've got some DAT machines and everything too. But mostly our recording and mixing is done in Pro Tools. We have in our main control room a C24 control surface, but we have high-end outboard pre's, so we don't use the onboard pre's. That's mostly just to have fader control. Very expensive but cool looking mouse. And so we have in the main room 4 sets of monitors that we use just to kind of A/B between a bunch of different things. But I'd say most of the things that I encounter are Pro Tool sessions. So people will have recorded somewhere and send it to me for mixing. So it's usually either just the WAV files or the Pro Tool sessions. I've noticed that composers tend to use Logic more, which I don't blame them. Logic has better software instruments than Pro Tools does. So I've noticed that. And then they've got these really great patches for cinematic 5-channel instruments as well. So that's the composers tend to like Logic better, but usually Pro Tools.
And any other, it seems like something I'm sure we used to talk about in class. As soon as here's this thing, and as soon as you learn, as soon as you master this technology, here's the next thing. I saw that Lander, LANDR, it's kind of virtual mastering shuttle service, it's just algorithms mastering some stuff for you. And then I think Lander started to offer distribution. CD Baby started to offer mastering with the Have you been doing? Is there any mastering happening there? Are you seeing things surface and then disappear? Opportunities?
Yeah, I out of the 3 engineers who are here, I do the most mastering, and it's not like a whole lot. So it's mostly like if Buzz recorded and mixed something, then I'll take over in the mastering phase just to get another set of ears on it. And it's mostly just like a quality control thing. That's how I look at it. I have had some like I don't know, like rock bands, usually they'll come in and get their tracks done and a mix done, and then they tend to be the ones who send it off to some kind of online service for mastering, whether that's a budget thing or an ease thing, since it's now okay, I can get it mastered, and now with this click, now it's on iTunes too. So it's just convenience thing. And I think that convenience typically wins out quality up to a point. So I think that those services are valid. There's a market for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there and they wouldn't be growing. And I think that having your music mastered by an actual person has value. And that is still a strong market as well.
Right. I think that something I say all the time, you can be your own producer, you can track your own vocals, but you'll never not be you.
Right.
So the value of these other people, the mastering engineer, the producer, the arranger, is that they're just looking at something with fresh eyes and giving you an opinion. And I've done both ways. I've compartmentalized the process, tracked it, mixed it, and then now I'll go somewhere else to master, and I'm just thinking about mastering. I've also done projects myself where from the very beginning, I'm wondering, do I want to dial, what's the bass drum that low going to do to the overall track? And I've mixed through some Orban mastering hardware just to kind of see what that's going to be, the overall mix. And yeah, it just feels like everything is up for grabs.
Yeah, and I think that it's good to bounce your work off of someone else, because with doing, especially now with kind of like lockdown situations happening, it's really easy to get into a feedback loop where you're reviewing your own content and then spitting it out and reviewing it again, and that doesn't make you better, but it does make drive you crazy. So
And yeah, let's go with mix number 47.
Right.
Another hard drive. Now you need somebody to catalog your hard drive space.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
It's time if we can check out some questions.
Yeah.
That would be really great. Oh, there's Adam Marion. Thank you, Adam. It's a 5088 Shelford.
Oh, yes.
Console. Okay. And just because I'm feeling a little bit audio geeked out, do you have a collection of microphones there? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I've got, well, I actually know this because I've been thinking about designing a microphone app. So this is a relatively new venture of mine that I won't dive into because it's not super solid yet.
Okay.
But kind of like Yelp for microphones. So you could search like acoustic guitar, boom, you get some choices, that kind of thing. So I just cataloged all of our microphones. We have 40 unique models, and some of those, a lot of them are in stereo pairs. Some of them we have like 4 or 5, like SM57s and 58s, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we've got a lot of Neumann, a couple of tube Peluso microphones that are modeled after the U47. Yeah, but kind of a range of stuff, ribbons, everything.
Wow. Oh, here we go down that road. I'm just gonna click on our question Q&A here, and I don't. Can you see the Q&A thing?
Ooh, I'm on mobile, so we'll try it.
Well, I can read you the.
Okay. That would.
What has been the hardest or most rewarding part of renovating the church? Is there stained glass in here?
There's stained glass windows. We have 12 stained glass windows, which we kept. And when we first moved in, there were 26 pews that we had to get rid of and sell and stuff. The hardest part has been just building the walls and like the internal structure. So we furred out the walls and did spray foam insulation just because it was always like it's like always really, really cold in there. The basement is 50 degrees no matter what time of year, but then the top, it changes a lot. So we did that right away, and then that threw a bunch of stuff out of square. So we had to try to realign everything again and get right angles happening again and cover bends in the walls here and there, but it looks awesome now. So
wow. Does it look like a church from as you drive by?
yeah, yeah, we have a like a sign out front and everything. We took down the like name of the church, but the actual like brick structure for the sign is still in our front yard. We have a bell, so we can ring the bell and everything. There's 2 different ways to ring it. There's one rope does a wheel turn, so the bell like kind of swings that way. And then the other one, if this is the bell, hits a hammer that goes up like that. So the swinging way is how you get the volume.
So your kids could be like a mile away and you could ring that bell and they're screwed. They go, oh, I turned my phone off. Didn't you hear the bell?
The bell.
Wow. This has got nothing to do with anything. Is there a graveyard with the church?
No, there is a parking lot though. Okay. So we have a parking lot instead of a yard.
Much more a parking lot than a graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, there's another church that like maybe if that one goes up for sale would come with a graveyard, but my husband is pretty superstitious. I am not. I'm more of a have to see it to really believe it kind of person.
Omar asked, how important is it to network and connect?
Oh, it is so important. If you want to work in any kind of music, you have to go to shows and meet the artists. You have to follow them on Instagram. You have to engage with them. You have to be part of the community, or you're gonna sit by yourself and not work. It's super important.
Yeah. Abby Cottrell asks, what advice do you have for young women going into the industry that are interested in engineering and producing? I think most everything you've said so far has been great advice, but anything you want to add into that?
Yeah, I would add, and this kind of just goes for anybody who might work with like some kind of hierarchy, is just know what your boundaries are, and like when and know when you shouldn't like step out of line. And that's gonna sound bad, but I'll explain. So like with boundaries, if you are, for example, like working with an artist, do you go out for drinks after? That kind of thing. Sometimes that's fine, sometimes it's not. You gotta kind of know the professional lines with that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know how many questions we have, so I don't want to like go too much into that, but yeah, I'd say just know what you're comfortable with. Make sure you take care of yourself, like get enough sleep. It's really easy to drink every day doing this kind of stuff, especially if you're going to shows. Don't do that. It's expensive and it's bad for you.
Um, I also, I wanted to kind of put a pin in this thing that you did, which is, I think, uh, we've had interns for a long time, and I see all these internships, and I think sometimes a student will say, "Well, here's this gift of my time. What's happening today?" And it seems like what you've done is rolled up your sleeves and dealt with some stuff, you like humping equipment or whatever it's been, um, to give yourself the ability to make yourself have value before you've extracted that value. You have to show the value, and you can't just show it once. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Show the value, and like, oh, you didn't see that? Well, here I am again, kind of stuff up this. Here we
Yep.
go. And maybe it might be the 10th time that someone's like, you know what, we should really, Audrey's been doing this. We should, you know, you have to humbly demonstrate your value before you get that value. Whereas I think
Exactly.
students say, well, I obviously have value, where is it? And
Mhm.
it seems like at most steps of the way here, you've gone in and made that thing happen for yourself, which is a great, a larger lesson for everybody.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah.
Mason says, how did you become involved with the Foley process?
Oh, so that kind of was born out of just a need. So my any video friends of mine I met through college would need sound design, and I initially started just like trying to line up, like, I don't know, if the onset audio was bad, you'd have to mute it and do ADR or replace all the dialogue after the fact. But this would also mute footsteps and any kind of like just clothing noises and all of that. And so at first I would try to just use a sample library, cue up a keyboard and play in my footsteps along with the video. And it was just so time consuming and not realistic. And so I was like, screw this, I'm going to set up a microphone. And that was my first Foley session, was walking into a bathroom, because this scene involved, so it's a very good Foley session. This scene, all right, am I back? There we go. The scene involved walking into a bathroom, unzipping, peeing as a man, and zipping up and leaving, not washing your hands, by the way. And so I put a microphone up where the camera perspective was and did the motions. I had a watering can full of water, like ready to go to dump into the toilet and everything. And that whole process took like 10 minutes and worked like that, and was great for the film. And I just Foley everything ever since.
Wow. And so, and that could be, it's just another, seems like another avenue that you have going on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where work can materialize.
Exactly.
How do you find the time to balance? I'm sorry, I'm just laughing with the idea of balance anymore.
I know.
Um, sorry, Sammy. How do you find the time to balance owning and running a studio with all the other stuff you have going on in your life?
Well, first you incorrectly assume I have other stuff going on in my life. No, I'm just kidding. I do have like the church and like a family and stuff. So, that I guess kind of goes back to knowing what your boundaries should be. Just because it is really easy to work super long days and look back at your calendar and realize, oh, I haven't had a day off in 4 weeks. I should probably schedule one just for paying my bills at home and like cleaning up my house and laundry and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
a day off.
yeah, exactly. And so since COVID, I've become a lot better at like realizing like, oh, okay, now I know I'm taking on too much because I have this increased responsibility at home, like homeschooling my son. And, just I live an hour away. So there's a lot of kind of coordination that has to happen. And so just knowing that and budgeting that into your schedule, really helps me to make sure that I don't invest too much in one thing and let the other thing slide or vice versa.
Yeah. Sean asks, any other outboard gear to nerd out on?
I have an 1176 that I really enjoy. I put a lot of vocals through that. Most of what we have is just outboard preamps. I've got 8 channels of Millennia. They are really nice. They have a really huge dynamic range, so it's perfect for orchestras where you might be recording, or classical in general, the quietest violin note or a super loud timpani. It's really versatile in that regard, so I love those.
Did I see, speaking of gear, did I see that you work with Warm Audio?
Yeah. So they reached out to me a few years, or I guess 2 years ago now, because they wanted to represent more women on their website. Like I said, I think that, if you see someone doing this, then that kind of makes a light bulb go off for you. So I jumped at the chance. I was like, absolutely. And I did a shootout article for Pro Tools Expert where I compared Warm Audio microphones to the microphone that they're like cloning.
Yeah.
And compared them with audio examples, and you should check it out. It's really cool. Like they sound really great, and for the price, like that is the stuff that I take for remote recordings. Like I don't want to take an $800 Neumann if I don't have to. I'll take a $400 Warm Audio that's going to sound 80% the same. So
yeah, I have a couple of pieces here. I've got the blackface compressor. Is that the 1156?
Oh, I have that is, yeah. There's also an LA2A, and they have a new 2-channel like bus compressor.
Oh, really?
That I think I don't know if they debuted it officially at NAMM, but it was kind of around that time frame. And DI boxes they have now, which I haven't tried yet.
Huh. Yeah, I love the bus compression. And then I have the Blueface EQ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a 4-channel, I think it was, or something?
I think I don't even know. We're just about ready to get rid of my old console and get my studio rocking. So
nice.
You're getting me in that mindset. Adam Marion says, have you sampled the bell?
Oh, I haven't yet, but that is on my to-do list for real. We need an extension ladder to get up there, though, so we're going to bring that in when it's time to paint. We have 16-foot ceilings, so when we have that in, that's when we're going to go up into the bell, and I'll put some stuff up there. It's super loud, though, so it's like one of those things. You don't want to actually be up there when you do it.
I think this is just a marketing thing. I think that every recording you do, just like in the world of hip hop, there's always a
thing.
Beginning of the beat. Every recording you do should be like, bong.
Bong. Well, I am working on a horror movie that is set in an abandoned nunnery, and when they were filming, the directors borrowed some chairs from my church. So I'm gonna sample it and include it in that project for sure, and I'll probably throw that reverb that I did in there as well.
Wow. Molly Kruger asks, what is the most important thing you've learned from your classical music background that helps you in your career today?
Pitch, probably. working with, I mean, just as a singer, you have to really be in tune with whatever piano you're working with, not necessarily just A440, but, you know, the piano, if it's got equal temperament, it changes as you get up and down the keyboard. But that has helped me with working with violin players. I work with a lot of Eastern Indian music, and they record on a 24-step scale instead of our 12. So their pitch identification is like crazy precise. So being able to identify what takes are good and bad based on my vocal experience with pitch has been helpful.
Wow, interesting. Michael Foreman asks, do you have any advice or resources for anyone assembling or upkeeping a small home studio?
Oh, that's a big one. I would check out Production Expert. I write for them, but there's tons of articles about, like, you know, if you're trying to record drums, here's a good pro setup, here's home studio setups. There's a whole range of stuff there that's good for like budget and then use. So I would check them out for sure. There's a lot of stuff there too. And YouTube tutorials on how to set it all up. So
yeah, I've seen I saw some I don't know why I saw some tutorials the other day on like recording a drum kit with 5 mics, recording a drum kit with 2 mics. You know, I accidentally recorded a drum kit through a vocal mic was left open, and it was you know, sounded fantastic.
Nice.
Olivia Calafato asks, what are some tips on how you market yourself and your business?
Just being engaged. So don't friend request somebody and then immediately invite them to like your page. That is just going to put a bad taste in their mouth right away. But if you add somebody and you know, see that they posted that they just got a new puppy, like, oh, awesome, that's so cute, congrats, like whatever. There's those meaningful connections are the ones that lead to something. So if you can foster that with whoever your target market is, so that also comes down to just knowing what your target market is interested in. Like mine, you know, a lot of singer-songwriters also have an interest in recording themselves. So that's part of why I thought, oh, I should write for a Production Expert then, because they're going to read that content, see my name attached to it as an expert and authority on that, and then they're gonna want to hire me for something. Maybe, you know, it's figuring out your brand and then marrying that with what your target market is in a meaningful way, not just like, you know, scrolling and liking their stuff and then expecting something to come out of that. That's not going to happen.
That's really interesting. And just as a little sidebar, I think you just mentioned that you write for this
Production Expert.
Right. So
yeah.
That's what a great thing that kind of shines a light on, well, she writes for Production Expert, you know, that's so super smart. And once again, here you are doing all of this, you know.
Exactly.
Well, Abby Cottrell asks, if you could only keep 3 microphones, oh, you engineers, which microphones would you choose?
Dang. I would, that's tricky because I would want a stereo pair of something. So I don't know. I'm going to count that as 1 microphone because that'll be too.
That was tricky.
Let's see. So I would want to keep a stereo pair of 414s by AKG. I use those a lot on acoustic guitar. They're really good for drum overhead mics. They are good on string, like classical stringed instruments. I'd use them on piano, the hammer, you know, up in that area. So they're versatile, can change the polar pattern or the pickup pattern, and they have a pad on them, which is essential. So I do those. A Neumann U87, that is my favorite vocal mic. Also works great on literally everything. I've never been like, oh, this sounds terrible, and it's a U87. It's always really good. And then for a third mic, let's see. I should probably pick something that's dynamic. Maybe like an RE27. Dynamic, good, low range response, that kind of fill out those bottoms that are missing from the 414, perhaps.
Wow, good response. And then from, I mean, I'm a studio guy too, but I want to ask a different kind of question in terms of your palette of tools. Are there any apps, programs, not necessarily anything to do with the studio? I'm loving Waze, the alert speed traps, Mile IQ. Not that I'm traveling, not that I'm commuting anywhere at the moment, but Mile IQ would alert me at the end of a drive. Was this business or pleasure? You just hit a button and it tracks your mileage for you. Any apps that you use in terms of social media or Instagram or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I just actually signed up for Linktree, which is yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, that was a thing because like I wanted to put the link for this out, and I also have my website and all this stuff. So Linktree, just one link, and then it's like you click on all of the different things, and I love that. I use soundgym.com. So that is like an ear training website you can go to, and it basically like it plays an audio sample, and you can choose like, is this panned, to the left, right, somewhere in between? Is this EQ boosted or cut? What frequency is that? Which one of these two has more compression? That kind of stuff. And I use Duolingo every day also. What was that?
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I really like it. It's ear sound gym, so it's like a little workout. They send you an email with a dumbbell and then everything. It's cute.
Is it a free app, or does it cost anything?
There's a free version and a paid version. So the free, you can do the compression, panning, and like volume change exercises, and then with paid you can change like the instrument samples and stuff like that they use, and there's probably more exercises. I just have the free one. And then Duolingo, I'm learning French on that too, so I use Duolingo all the time.
So I'm sorry, I was just trying to tell Molly about Gym, GYM.
Yes.
Okay, and then what did you say about
Duolingo? It's a language learning app. So I've been learning French, and well, that's another income stream thing. I do voiceover. So if you speak a different language, you can charge double the money for doing voiceover stuff. So I'm going to learn Spanish next, but I'm respectable in French right now.
I used to tell a story of, who's the guy who did Pretty Hate Machine? John Fryer. I think it was John Fryer. And one of my old lectures, I used to be like, hey, what skill can you add to your skill? And John told me he had a little bit of Japanese. And became one of the busiest producers in New York, not because he produced Pretty Hate Machine for Nine Inch Nails, but although that was pretty good, but he also had a little bit of Japanese. So all Japanese artists were like, we want to go to New York and work with who we're going to work with. And the label, of course, would choose the guy who said he had a little bit of Japanese, and with every passing day had more and more Japanese.
Exactly.
He was the go-to guy. Wow. So your skill set, we started off like this, wasn't it? And here it turns out you're doing this. I think the language aspect as well that's brain enhancing stuff anyway.
Totally. Yeah. My grandpa spoke 6 languages, so I'm gonna try to one up him. Wow. We'll see. We'll do 3. I'll probably do 3.
Okay. So what's next for you? Where do you see things going over the next year, and what are the next 5 years? Where are you headed?
Yeah. So I'm always so focused in the short term. But I just became a member of the Recording Academy, and so I'm hoping that I eventually I start kind of networking in that with those people as well, foster some kind of collaborations. I really want to like kind of blow up the Madison music scene and like get, because there's some really amazing talent here, and everybody should know that. So yes, working with that, yeah, I guess finishing the church, maybe sell that, buy a bigger church, we'll see.
Wow. Well, I hope that this has been really good for me. It's been just uh, great to sit and talk to you and be a little bit studio geek. I was just in my just a few minutes ago. I'm getting excited about that. But it's reassuring, reaffirming, and inspirational to see all of these things you're doing. And I think it's great for everybody that's tuned in to hear all of this stuff. And I hope we can do this again. You know, we do the in-person version of this whenever we can.
Yeah.
That might be next year now, but I like the Madison music scene as well. I work with Roy at Broad Jam,
Yeah.
all the time, and those guys. So I hope you will consider yourself part of whatever this crazy family is. And I'd love to get you down to the university and talk to our students in person. I think they could learn a lot from you, as I have. And let's keep this going.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
Thanks to Molly, thanks to my students who have been helping with promotions on this. We're going to wrap this up. I'll remind you that next week, Thursday at 4 o'clock, I think, is Shannon Curtis talking about house concerts. And we've got some slightly amazing stuff coming in the next, some announcements in the next few weeks for where MmX is going. So thanks again, Audrey. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, thank
I really
you.
appreciate everything you've told us today. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really, yeah, it was so good to see you, and I just really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. See you, everyone.
You.
Bye. Thanks, Molly.